All right, Krystal, what are you taking a look at today?
Guys, don't fall for the act. Pelosi and Biden want you to sincerely, earnestly believe that they are shocked that the eviction moratorium is expiring, that they had no idea the rental assistance program was in complete shambles, that led to almost no money actually getting to the hands of tenants and landlords. They actually want you to think that they hadn't even noticed the Supreme Court ruling saying that it would probably take an act of Congress to extend the moratorium. Give me a break. Biden and Pelosi have been trading statements back and forth, each calling on the other to act in a choreographed dance of buck passing. First on Thursday, the Biden administration, mere days before the provision's expiration, called on Congress to act. In response, Pelosi took a show vote asking for unanimous consent to extend the moratorium. When that show vote request for unanimous consent failed, she blamed the Republicans and promptly skipped town. Now, she's out with a new letter explaining that it's not really on the House to do anything. Really, the White House and the CDC should deal with this teeny tiny problem of 15 million Americans potentially facing eviction. She writes, "It is unfathomable that we would not act to prevent people from being evicted. Overwhelmingly, our members agreed to extend the moratorium and universally to distribute the funds. But the House passing the eviction moratorium without the Senate acting does not extend the moratorium. Instead, the money must flow and the moratorium must be extended by the administration." So long story short, these people knew that this financial cliff was coming. They made an affirmative choice to do nothing and just let potentially millions of Americans lose their homes. How do I know that's what's going on here? Well, because they're doing exactly the same thing with any number of other pandemic-era relief programs, which are also set to expire. The so-called super dole, set to end at the beginning of September, Biden bowed to corporate America, whining that they couldn't find enough workers to exploit, came out in favor of ending the $300 plus up. Now, he claims to support the continuation of covering gig workers, freelancers, and the long-term unemployed, but he hasn't lifted a finger to keep those provisions in place, so functionally, what's the difference? The upshot of all of this is that 20 million Americans are set to lose unemployment payments in just a matter of weeks. And just so you know, the admittedly plausible theory that cutting people off would force them back into shitty jobs actually turned out to be completely incorrect. States that have already cut off benefits, they have done worse. They actually saw employment decrease after they did that. But wait, there's more. Student loan debt payments are also about to come due again at the end of September. Since the early days of the pandemic, those payments have been deferred and interest rates set at zero. This short pause on debt collection gave overburdened students a much-needed break from the grinding payments that set so many young Americans back right at the time when they're starting a career. Biden, of course, could cancel student debt altogether with the stroke of a pen, but obviously he's not going to do that. And he also will not extend the student debt forbearance. Get ready to pony up those crushing student loan payments, young Americans. And finally, renters are not the only ones faced with possible homelessness. Millions of Americans benefited from mortgage payment forbearance during the pandemic, allowing them to stay in their homes even if they had lost their jobs or seen their businesses shuttered. Those mortgage payments are also about to come due. According to the Washington Post, about 2 million Americans are still in pandemic forbearance programs. Another 1.5 million are 3 months or more late on their payments, but never actually entered into those forbearance programs. These are substantial and potentially catastrophic numbers. So for context here, back in 2008, at the height of the housing crisis, about 860,000 homeowners were ultimately foreclosed on. Remember, however you feel about the economy and how it's doing right now in terms of joblessness, poverty, and hunger, that economy is being propped up by myriad pandemic-era programs which are all about to be cut. Critical lifelines that have helped people get by are about to disappear, and it's about to happen basically all at once. Not to mention, they're set to end at a time when the Delta variant is causing new nervousness and a reimposition of some pandemic restrictions. Our public officials would be quick to tell you the pandemic isn't over. They'll put a new mask mandate or other personal burdens on you, but they're missing in action when it comes to making sure Americans can come out of the pandemic financially whole. And it's not because our leaders forgot the day that these provisions expire or really care and are trying so hard to do something as they jet off to their Hamptons fundraisers. It's because they have made a clear affirmative choice. They decided to cut the lifelines and let the chips fall where they may. They've decided to institute their own back to normal, which is DC doing nothing for people who are struggling. Now look, it was always dangerous to make people aware that the government could actually do something for them, that debt could be deferred or forgiven, housing protected, checks deposited in their accounts. Now that the immediate terror from our ruling class of pitchforks and riots is waning, the employer class is anxious to get back to the normal of crushing everyone's spirit so that they have no choice to work for one of our foremost monopolists at poverty wages. Biden and Schumer and Pelosi may feign impotence and pretend that they want to take action, but only a fool could miss their real agenda. They will happily maintain the pandemic-era elements of authoritarian power, whether that's working with social media companies to censor misinformation or reimposing mask and vaccine requirements. But the days of compensating pandemic relief are officially over. They expect us to comply, and they offer nothing in return. Our political elites are pushing Americans off a massive financial cliff. So they will tell you, pandemic's not over.
Right. Wear your mask.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.